Alright, first video in a while, and honestly I had a lot I wanted to do before. The Gillette ad back when it came out, Mary Poppins blackface, group of 3 girls sued Yale and fraternities for sexism, but due to things like my microphone no longer working, hence the headset, and issues in my personal life, I never made any. So I'm trying to milk this little bit of inspiration I have right now from seeing this movie. Endgame was amazing. A film with basically a decade of work leading up to it. You cannot buy the type of hype this movie had. The culmination of a cultural phenomenon series of movies, and sadly, probably a beginning of a downward trend from Marvel here out. I say this for several reasons. 1, this is an apex of Marvel movies. It is very unlikely that any movies coming out after this will be able to match its success. So, while the downward trend may not be severe, it is likely to happen in my opinion. And B, Captain Marvel is the new face of the MCU going forward, and I hate her with a fiery passion. Getting my bias out of the way early, I automatically probably won't like any scene that had Captain Marvel in it. I will probably look at everything she did in the movie too critically, which is saying something given that she's only in it for 15 minutes total, and I'm probably looking at it more critically than I would if it were a character/actress that I liked more. To me, Captain Marvel's best scene was when she got a fistful of Power Stone from Thanos and was sent flying. Sadly, it's the only time she's sent flying. Thanos headbutts her, and she doesn't budge or flinch, anything. He can't yank his hand from her grasp, so he has to grab the Power Stone off the gauntlet in his other hand and then punch her in the face. I just really don't like the way they're making this character. She's becoming the MCU's version of Superman, basically, and that's not a good thing. Characters need flaws and weaknesses. That's what makes them interesting as they have to face them. No one really wants to watch a perfect character more than 2, maybe 3 times. And the absolute worst line in the movie is said by her. One of the Avengers says in the beginning when they're going to go after Thanos again, "How will this end any differently than the last time?" And she says, "You didn't have me last time." I heard other people in the audience groaning at that. They were laying it on way too thick. If you're going to have such an overconfident character, you need to humble them. "You didn't have me last time," then cut to her getting smacked across the face with a planet. Okay, that's probably enough to satisfy my anti-Captain Marvel bias. A comparison I'd like to make is between Luke Skywalker and Thor. Recap. The Avengers go and find and kill Thanos, but it's a weaker version of him, as he has used the Infinity Stones to destroy the Infinity Stones, and half his body is all messed up, so you can tell it nearly killed him. So after the Avengers 86 him, then we have a several-year time skip. 5, maybe? When we get to reassembling the team, Thor is bearded. And I mean dwarven bearded. And he has a beer belly. While funny at first, I feel like we stayed on that scene just a little bit too long. And then it just kind of became embarrassing to see how far he had fallen. Now I said I wanted to compare this to Luke Skywalker, because a lot of people didn't really like how he was handled in The Last Jedi, myself included, and I think it's because we see him go from victorious and triumphant to old, defeated, and pathetic. Not only was the reasoning bad, we didn't really get to see it happen. With Thor, we get to see what he goes through to get Stormbreaker. He survives the full force of a star to forge it, and then he shows up at the Battle of Wakanda and cuts swaths through Thanos' forces. When Thanos tries to blast him with the full Infinity Gauntlet, all of the stones, he cuts through it and still hits him. Thor is at the peak of his game, the most powerful he's ever been, and then he still lost. And then not only that, when they think they have a chance to fix everything, they learn that the Infinity Stones are gone, and it's like he lost again. Those blows to his confidence and his ego are huge. And while I don't really like Fat Thor, I can look at it and say, I see how he got there. Now, time travel is a big part of the movie. I actually think that'll probably be a reason people might not like it. I think it'll take a couple of viewings for someone not to like it, because overall it is still a great movie. I was on the fence about it in the beginning, but because it is what leads to the epic battle at the end, I was willing to give in with the suspension of disbelief. Some moments I liked that resulted from time traveling. Tony giving his father advice on raising children based on what his father did. So that creates a little funny time paradox, I guess. Captain America fighting himself was pretty cool. The scene where Banner Hulk is talking with Doctor Strange's teacher basically establishes multiverse theory in the MCU, which is okay, but it kind of contradicts itself in the end when Old Man Cap shows up. The absolute best thing that resulted from the time traveling is that Thanos and his army get pulled from the past into the present. Thanos wielding a giant double-sided greatsword. Thanos with his full military might. Not half of it given to Loki and then nuked into oblivion by Iron Man. Everything. And then because they got the stones from the past, they undo Thanos' snap, and then Doctor Strange and the rest of the sorcerers bring in an army of their own. The Wakandans, the Asgardians, everybody. And then Cap, instead of saying charge, says Avengers, assemble. And it was epic. Now before this, we had what was, in my opinion, probably the best fight. You have Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man face off against Thanos. It was awesome. The big three versus the big bad. And it was heart-pounding. There are several moments where you're wondering if Thanos is actually going to manage to kill one of them. The long-standing debate about if Captain America is actually worthy to lift Mjolnir is also solved during this, because Beer-Belly Thor brings back Mjolnir along with the Reality Stone so that he can dual-wield it along with Stormbreaker. But in the middle of the fight, he's disarmed. I can't quite remember how that happened. And Thanos is basically about to stab him with his own axe, and then Mjolnir comes flying in from off-screen, and then it stops in the air and goes rushing back, just like how Thor used to call it back to himself, and you see it land in Cap's hand. And it took every ounce of my willpower not to just start shouting right there. It was awesome. Thor yells, "I knew it!" I was so pumped I had to hold back yelling with him. And he isn't just holding the hammer. No, he is calling down lightning with it. He spins it around just like Thor did. I mean, it was great. And it was a great combo when you consider that he now had Mjolnir and he had his shield. So he had a great offense and defense. Before I get to the ending, I'll mention the last part that I really didn't like, and that's the girl power moment where Captain Marvel gets a hold of the Infinity Stones. She has to get them to Ant-Man so that they can be returned to the times that they came from. Spider-Man's asking her, like, how are you going to get it across this whole battlefield? And then apparently every female main character there decided that they needed to be at the exact same spot on the battlefield at this time, and the camera pans so you can see all of them, and, and they say, she'll have help. It felt incredibly forced, and God, I don't look forward to seeing all the comments about toxic men and man babies from this one scene that wasn't even that good and really didn't add anything. As far as I'm concerned, if you wanted female empowerment, you got that when Scarlet Witch single-handedly rocked Thanos' world. And this is after he just beat the holy hell out of Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man. Sees her and she tells him how he stole everything from her. And he says, I have no idea who you are. And this is because, it's Thanos from the past, so he hasn't actually killed Vision and all that. And she just looks at him, her eyes are glowing, she's holding the red energy in her hands, and says, you will. And she just destroys him. That was an awesome scene. The two major parts of the ending are the conclusions of Captain America and Iron Man's stories. And they're kind of polar opposites. You have Iron Man sacrificing himself to use the Infinity Stones to snap away all of Thanos' forces, and the power from it kills him because he's just human. And let me tell you, as a father, seeing that scene and then knowing that, his little girl is now going to grow up without a dad, I was tearing up at that moment. Someone should go tell DC that's how you handle a superhero death. And then you have Captain America, who, after returning the Infinity Stones to their proper places in time, chooses to remain in the past, where he marries and lives out the rest of his life with Agent Carter. The actual last scene you see is the two of them dancing. So I guess it's kind of like a callback to the fact that they never got the dance they promised each other. I thought that it was a great, well-earned ending for his character. Some people I've seen are saying that it was kind of selfish, but I don't really think that. I mean, he knows the world is in good hands, And, well, he's earned it. He's earned this time. He deserves his happy ending. And then there's an old Cap who's at the scene where he just went back in time to kind of show what he did, where he then also passes on the Captain America shield on to Falcon. I think that's a little odd. I thought he was going to give it to Bucky, but I've also just recently learned there's apparently going to be like a Falcon and Winter Soldier buddy cop movie, so maybe it'll make more sense when I see that. I honestly think I'm going to need to see this movie like 2 to 3 more times before I can honestly have a full opinion of it. It's 3 hours, and while the first hour kind of drags on a bit in places, there's still so much going on. So much that I'm quite sure there has to be something I've forgotten or I've overlooked. If you haven't got to see this movie, you need to. Order your ticket online though. I didn't. That was a huge mistake. I ended up waiting in line for an extra hour because the showing I thought I was going to go see sold out like 2 hours ago. Have a great day, and goodbye.